Derek, thanks very much for the time. And finally, I'm very happy to have come to Benoni to be where you are and to see your beautiful residence and environment. And just for the audience, I'm Kevin Ye. I'm the current country chair of MDRT South Africa. I'm honored to be meeting Derek at his place in Benoni and to speak to him, a true legend in our industry who has set a high standard and has set an excellent example for many to follow. Derek, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And it's so nice to see you.
Yes.
COVID kept us apart.
Yeah.
But you're here. You've eventually we meet, which is good.
Yes. Okay. No, that's excellent. And Derek, I just can you tell us more about yourself, your journey to today?
Yeah. It's an interesting story. Born in Scotland, 1946, in industrial Scotland. I grew up in in Grangemouth, a shipbuilding town. Excuse me. After the Second World War, Britain had to rebuild itself.
Yeah.
So I was part of that rebuilding part as a baby boomer. And my father put me into the shipyard when I was 16 to get a trade. He said, if you get a trade, you can go anywhere in the world. So he didn't ask my opinion, he put me into the shipyard at 15 years of age.
Wow.
So he taught me the hard way.
Yeah.
So I proved myself, I became an apprentice welder. So I did 5-year apprenticeship in Scotland, and then it was a proper professional trade. Sitting Guild certificates, Class A1 welder, building ships that wouldn't sink. So it was proper welding, really serious welding. And
so maybe ESCOM should get you to weld a boiler.
We built ships in all conditions, rain, snow, wind. What happened then? So anyway, so I did my 5-year apprenticeship. I met Joyce at school. Joyce, who you met an hour ago to have tea with, my lovely wife of 55 years.
Wow.
Joyce and I met at high school when we were 15 and went out as teenagers. And we always talked about once I qualify as a welder, we would leave the country and find some sunshine. Because Scotland is very cold and wet. But we love Scotland. But so my wife and I got married young, and we came to South Africa in 1968 with a 9-month-old baby. No job, no accommodation. So South Africa got you here. Once you're here, you were on your own. Literally on your own. So I ended up in Benoni. And I got a job within 24 hours. I just knocked on doors. I got a job as a welder. But the welding was nothing like the welding in Scotland. It was very inferior, and it didn't inspire me at all. So within a week I said to Joyce, it's a great country, but I will not be welding here. So Joyce wrote to different companies asking if they could employ me in an office environment. One company replied and said, let him come in and see us. So I came in, and I got a job as a clerk, and I was 22 years of age then. What was fascinating about that story was that during my apprenticeship, it was a really hard apprenticeship in those elements. And one day I was up in the top deck of a ship in terrible weather, and it was 9 o'clock tea time, and I got my flask of tea, and the shop steward said, you've got to throw your tea away. It's an illegal tea break. Keep working. And I looked over at the ship's offices up over the road from where we were building the ship. And the office workers were just coming to work at 9 o'clock, and the lights came on, and a tea trolley was being pushed from place to place, and people were getting tea. I said, that's all I want in my life, a cup of tea in an office. That's all I want. And here I was in South Africa, all these years later, having my cup of tea. In an office environment. I thought, dreams come true. What happened next was fabulous. The manager said, you have got great potential, but no one can understand you. The accent, you brought another language to the country, the Scottish accent. We're going to send you for elocution lessons to on a public speaking course. To the JCs, the effective speaking. So that night I went to the effective speaking course, and my life changed because I listened to how one should speak effectively. Not in public, but effectively, using every word as a meaning. And that I fell in love with speaking. I fell in love with the idea of being able to choose your words, choose which words create an emotion. And I loved it. So after 6 weeks, I got the most improved new member. They said, Derek, we couldn't understand anything you said at the beginning. Now we can understand half of what you said. So here's the most improved new member. So, so I joined the JCs, and I joined the JC effective speaking team and the debating team.
Yeah.
So from there, I went to national championships in speaking and debating.
Yeah.
So when I came into this industry, I was already had perfected the 5-minute prepared speech.
Right.
So in 5 minutes, you had to move an emotion, make them laugh, cry, think, and remember in 5 minutes. That was the goal.
Oh,
so brilliant. What is a sales presentation? A sales presentation is a 5-minute way to communicate with your client and create an impression that's going to move an emotion in 5 minutes. What better product is there to sell life insurance than I can do that with emotion?
Right.
So I came into insurance as a default, as most people do. I worked for that large company for many years. I moved to a small company. I ran my own little business for this, for a Portuguese man who had just fled from Southwest Africa. And he, so I was employed as his manager. I did everything: bought, sold, manufactured everything, and little cold drinks for children. And then in May of 1977, I came to work one Monday morning, and there was 2 people at the door to say, "You're Derek Dingwall, we have bad news." So I thought the boss had died. The boss had left the country with all the money. You haven't got a job, give us your car keys, that's it, closed. So I stood on the pavement in Jameson at 31 years of age with no job. So when I phoned my wife, and she came and picked me up, and I said, "Joyce, I will never work for another boss in my life again. No one will ever determine my destiny." And my life insurance broker, his name was Keith, said, "You could sell insurance. You've been doing public speaking," and ended up in Legal & General. And they gave me an aptitude test, which was a very basic test of knocking on 10 doors and asking 10 questions to total strangers. Very few people can do it. I did it. I knocked on doors, and I said, "My name is Derek Dingwall. And a week ago, I was a manager for a small business in Jameson, but unfortunately, the business folded. I'm looking for a job in Legal & General, so if you can just answer these questions, I'll get the job. And I promise I'll never see you again." And the questions were, what type of car do you drive, petrol, do you watch TV, all these things. So I went back the next day with my questions, telephone numbers, and the next day they said, you're in. You're not afraid to speak to strangers, and you're honest. You told everyone the truth. You told them exact what happened to you and why you're at their door.
Yes.
So we were honest people who are not afraid to speak to strangers. You start tomorrow.
Okay.
No income. Commission only. So I battled, I struggled, Kevin, for the first month. I struggled and battled and cried, but I would not go back to a normal life again. I said to my wife, I will not go back.
Yes.
And then the manager said, "You're not giving up." So he gave me a little white card, this was an orphan policyholder. I thought he was giving me an orphan. I said, "Well, I can't afford an orphan. I can't even feed my children. I can't have an orphan as well." So he said, no, an orphan policyholder. And he explained what an orphan policyholder was. Somebody who's come to the business, sold, and left. Now there's no one looking after this client. I said, "Yeah, really?" So what do I do? Just phone them, introduce yourself, and ask them if you can improve the benefit they've got. So this is interesting because in 1977, people came to Legal & General's and Liberty Lives and all the Southern Lives to make money in the short term. It was an in-between job. They came in, you sold a product. There was no financial planning involved. You had one product to 2 products. You had life insurance to sell, retirement annuities, and endowments. 3 things. That's all. And you sold based on affordability. Nothing else. Purely affordability. So I made the first phone call. I said, "Kevin, my name is Derek Dingwall. Do you know you have a policy for Legal & General?" "No, well, you have." "And you know the policy needs to be updated because you took this term insurance out and it's expiring." "I didn't know that." "Well, you have, and I need to help you." "When can I see you?" 5 o'clock tonight. So I went back to my manager, so I've got an appointment, do the presentation for me. I went back to see the man, had a cup of tea with them, made my first sale. So the next day I came back and I said, "Wow, I haven't slept all night. Are there any more orphans?" And they took me to a green filing cabinet, packed full of hundreds and hundreds of cards. You can imagine over 20 years, people had come to sell insurance to their family and friends. Then when they ran out of family and friends, they left. But they left behind them 20 people paying premiums when no one looking after them. So I thought, this is a gold mine. So I looked in the cabinet for another one, another term insurance, found it, made the same that night, another sale. So after about 2 weeks, I thought, this is amazing. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to hire an assistant, which nobody did in 1977. Nobody hired assistants.
Back at the time, no
in
one hired an
1977,
assistant.
they could hardly eat. If they sold one policy a week,
Yeah.
they were just getting by, you know.
Oh, okay.
I was selling one a day, orphans.
Okay.
And I thought, it took me 2 days to look for it, do the presentation, sell, come back the next day, fill the forms in. So I worked out, if I get an assistant to help me, I could probably double or triple my sales.
Okay.
Because you're selling products and affordability, that's simple. So I got a young lady called Sue looking for a job.
Yeah.
She said, I can't type. I said, that's no problem. I've got no one to write to. So this is perfect. You don't have to type. As long as you can just help me, look in the cabinet for orphans.
Yes.
I'll make the phone call, you do the presentations.
Yeah.
I'll make the sale, you do the forms the next day.
Yeah.
So she said, that's fine. So she did it. And then we came up with the brainwave that I still use to this day. The brainwave is give people 3 options. When I did, the mistake I made at the beginning was giving them one option. They could say yes or no.
Yeah.
So that's a bad idea. I wasted all that time.
Okay.
So I said to Sue, let's do 3 options.
Okay.
Now then 10 rand a month, 20 rand a month, 30 rand a month.
Okay.
So there's your present position. To increase the policy, 10, 20, 30. They always took one option. I didn't care what they took. But if they do one option, I had a client.
I just want to understand, when you say presentation, like nowadays, when we talk about presentation, we talk about PowerPoint. What kind of presentation do you do at
It
the
was
time?
brilliant. This woman, she was an ex-school teacher.
Yeah.
She worked on graph paper.
Okay.
You know the old-fashioned graph paper?
Yeah.
Graph?
Graph paper with
the
grid lines. Yes.
Cokie pens.
Yeah.
You know, felt tip pens?
Yeah.
That was a presentation. Present position. There's your term insurance.
Okay.
Option 1. Increase the whole life policy with 10 rand extra.
Yeah.
Increase the whole life policy with 20 rand extra.
Yeah.
Increase the 30 rand a month with whole life. We converted term insurance.
Yeah.
Term was a big thing in the 1960s, 70s.
Okay.
The term was 10, 20 years, then it stopped.
Yeah.
You could convert it.
To whole.
If you didn't convert it, you lost it.
Okay.
So we converted term to whole of life.
Yeah.
So what I looked in the cabinet for was term insurance. Then we converted term into whole life.
Yeah. So at that time, she was just writing on the paper, and then that's your presentation.
That's my presentation.
You give it show it to the client, saying, you have this, and then now I give you these options for you to
convert into term, 10, 20, and 30 rand a month.
Okay.
Yeah, simple.
Right.
So simple. And that was it. It was graph paper. And we kept,
so if you, at that time, how many clients were you seeing a day?
So now when I got Sue involved, I was seeing 2 and 3 a day.
Yeah.
Per day.
Okay.
Because she put 5 hours into looking for the term insurance.
Right.
I made the phone call.
Yeah.
So we were selling 2 to 3 conversions a day.
Okay.
A day.
Right.
People were selling 1 policy a week. I was doing this per day.
Yeah. Okay.
So we
you had a system that you came up with, and then you just work on it.
The system worked beautifully. I was getting the best out of my time. My time was sales.
Right.
Put me in front of you with a presentation,
Yeah.
a 5-minute prepared speech, which I can move an emotion in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Speak too long, you lose the client. Speak for 5 minutes, it's done.
Okay.
Then you shut up. Prepared speaking competitions are only 5 minutes. So when you do a prepared speech, you still have a start, an end, and a beginning.
Yes.
But you move an emotion, and you ask for, at the end of your speech, you ask for action.
Right.
Vote, buy, sell.
Yeah.
You must ask for action at the end, otherwise you don't get a response.
Yeah.
So I was doing my 5-minute prepared speeches as a sales presentation, and it worked.
Yeah.
Because when you stop talking like that, I wait for you to reply. When you reply, the sale begins. That's public speaking. Silence is an extremely valuable commodity to have. We speak too much, and we speak ourselves into the sale and out of the sale. After 15 minutes, the people just want to say, just get rid of this person who's boring me. I don't know about his wife and his kids and his dogs and his pets, and which sport I just want him out of here. We speak too much. Sales is speaking as little as possible in the picture. Then you be quiet and wait for them to respond. wait for them, give them the honour and pleasure of responding, rather than you boring them to death. So that was me. I did 5-minute prepared speeches, selling products.
Yeah.
You sold products. So within 3 years, we had 500 clients.
Sure.
Before 1981, I qualified for MDRT.
So in 1981, you had 500 clients.
Yeah, and we are qualified for MDRT by 1981. I went to New York.
Yeah.
So 1977, started with nothing. No clients.
That's amazing.
Never sold insurance in my life before.
Yeah.
When Sue left me after a year, I got somebody else in. I got 2 people in. Because now I had to have people to look after.
Yeah.
So when you can adopt 500 people, but now you look after them. Otherwise, they become orphans.
Okay. So
Right.
so just to dig a bit deeper into this.
Right.
So you only feel like there's need for 2 people because now you have grown your client base.
Yeah.
So initially when you had one assistant, that assistant was really helping you to prepare all these sales presentations. And then once you have grown your client base, you recognize the need to actually service your
them,
existing clients, 500 clients.
Yeah.
That's why you need to have another person to
And
do
then
that.
3, then we're 3 of them, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's
back
where
to
yesterday, today, and tomorrow comes in.
so back to 1981.
Yeah, so I qualified for MDRT. I couldn't believe it. I was a member of LUASA.
Yeah.
Many people who are listening to this will remember LUASA.
Yes.
The LUASA changed our lives. We met every month. All of us, some people listening to this, will remember the amazing breakfasts we had. And we all talked to each other and we all knew each other.
Was it like a monthly gathering?
Monthly gathering,
And
yeah.
where did it happen?
In Joburg, in Johannesburg.
I see.
Carlton Hotel, different hotels.
Oh, Carlton Hotel.
Yeah, top floor.
The glory days.
Yeah, they're glory days. No, we had meetings all over the place, but we all met each other.
And how many people were there?
There must have been 50, 60 of us there.
Okay.
And then we had MDRT report backs.
Yes.
Now, Max Abrahamson was one of my favourites. He would come back from MDRT and tell us all about what he met.
Yeah.
So the seed was sown way back. So I started in 77, I would have been in LUASA 78, 79 probably. And then the MDRT seed was being sown in our minds.
And so at that time, the MDRT had a close relationship, working with LUASA.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, without LUASA, there'd be no MDRT members.
Okay.
No, LUASA was the stepping point to MDRT. Excuse me, Mike Beater, all of us, we all were at LUASA listening to the MDRT report backs and wanting to go to MDRT because when they come back and they tell you about what they've heard, what they've listened to, you want to be there.
Right.
So in 1981, I qualified to go as a provisional member. So you were a provisional member first for a year before you became a member.
Oh, so that was how it
I'm a
worked at the
provisional
time.
member at 81.
And at the provisional member, do you pay the same fees as
Same fees, yeah.
Okay.
Same thing, to go.
Yeah.
And then you were a provisional for a year, I think it was.
Right.
So we got the letter to go to America. And I said to Joyce, I can go to America for this meeting. She want to go to America for a meeting. Can you buy the video? It's cheaper for someone to tell you about it. I said, no, but Joyce, you need to go to these meetings. She was dead against it. Anyway, by that time, in 1979, I employed my PA, my personal assistant. This time I had employees, but I thought in 79 I must get a professional assistant. I want a really professional person in my office helping me with this.
Right.
So Jeanette McKenzie came into my life. Jeanette was looking for a job. She was an ex-legal secretary, well-spoken, educated, did shorthand, really. So I employed her in 1979.
Right.
She was with me for 40 years.
Okay.
Jeanette retired after 40 years.
Right.
Her and I built that business on creativity. Her and I had a magic between us. So when I said to Jeanette, I want to go to MDRT in New York, but Joyce won't let me go. What do you think? She said, if it's good for the business, you must just do it. So I took my credit card down to the travel agent. I said, 1 return ticket to New York. In those days, you had a machine.
Oh, yes.
And then the blood ran out of my arms. I thought, I'm now going to New York. And the theme of the meeting in 81 was the spirit of commitment. I just felt the spirit of commitment in my credit card. So I went back to Joyce. I said, Joyce, I'm going.
Okay.
She said, if you're going, I'm coming with you. Go back and get a second ticket. I said, okay, Joyce. Went back to the travel agent. I said, another one, please. They were doubly committed. And now, Kevin, your brain changes when you're committed to go to New York. Your mind changes completely. We upped our game. We became We became more professional with our clients. I worked harder. But I went to MDRT in 1981, changed my life. Radio City Music Hall. It was amazing. To walk in there thinking in 1977, I was a total rookie. In 81, here I was. And you had the first timers. The first timers had a special meeting with special labels.
Right.
I met other young guys from Texas and New York and all over England, Scotland.
Sure.
So I was one of them. I became international.
Yeah.
And I came back with so many stories that I told my clients.
Yeah.
Speeches that would change their lives.
Sure.
And my life.
Yeah.
Speeches that would make them better people. More of the whole person concept. I loved it.
Yeah.
Ben Feldman was one of the best salesmen in the world. I listened to his stories. I liked him. I liked the way he thought.
Was he one like a chair of
Ben
MDRT
Feldman,
many years ago, or was it just
his son was?
Okay.
But Ben Feldman was just one of the top salesmen.
Yes.
He was small.
Yeah.
He just spoke in the strangest way, but he just sold insurance. Pennies on the dollar. They just signed this document and you get $1 million life insurance for your family. I mean, and he never filled forms in. Ben Feldman was the top life insurance agent.
Yeah.
I think in the world at that stage.
Yeah.
He just sold $1 million policy. We're talking 1981.
Yeah.
But he believed in what he sold. And he didn't fill forms in. He had a whole team of people like I was going to have. I was going to be like Ben Feldman.
Yeah.
I want to be like him.
Yeah.
A whole team of people behind him, supporting him, and him only doing what he does best. Sell insurance. That's what I did best.
Yeah.
When put me in front of a client, I loved it. Put me in an office for 8 hours, I hated it.
Okay.
So I employed people, my yesterday, today, and tomorrow team. I employed them to be my support staff.
Right.
And I'll be the front man. I was the front man.
Yeah.
I was in front of clients every day until I retired in 2021. Yeah. So that was my life was like that. So MDR changed my life. It gave me balance. Told me you must have balance in your life because you can be a rich failure.
Yeah.
I remember the very first talk I went to. Yeah. If you work 7 days a week and you ignore your family, you become a rich failure. A rich failure is somebody with lots of money, but you've lost your family. You've lost the love. You've lost that passion. You've lost your children. We don't want that. MDRT told me the first meeting, we don't want that. You show me your diary. You work too hard. Take Saturday and Sunday off. They said, we don't want you.
Yeah.
If you're going to come here and make money and be a rich failure, we don't want you. We want balanced people. Up front, 1981.
That's quite a good concept, even like 40 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, they said we had to take our diaries with us.
Yeah.
Open your diary. Show us where you put family time. We all went, what's family time? In between appointments.
Yeah.
Then they said, that first time a meeting, stop. You must take time off for your family. Don't pretend, you must take time off for your family.
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday, learn to say no, close the door, walk away, come back Monday morning. But if you haven't got family time, you're a rich failure. Yeah. Strong words. I came back, changed my... And in fact, that night I said to Joyce in the hotel room, I said...
Rich failure.
I said to her, I heard today I could become a rich failure. She said, you're becoming one. You're becoming
that's
one.
A warning sign.
You're becoming one. Because you've got no time for us.
Yeah.
All you do is talk about your clients, talk about sales. You don't think of us. You just think of yourself. We are getting further and further apart from you, your son, your daughter. Oh, wow. She says, you are becoming one. I thought, oh my goodness, that's terrible. That's a horrible thing. She said, well, what are you going to do about it? I said, well, I will stop at 4 o'clock on Friday to 8 o'clock on Monday. I promise you that, 1981. Kept my promise. So I kept my promise. And I insisted that my employees never worked any overtime. Ever. They had to leave at 4 o'clock. I wouldn't phone them, I wouldn't message them.
Okay.
I make them balanced people as well.
Okay.
That's why they all stayed with me, because no one was allowed to work overtime, and I would never phone them after hours, never. Not for any reason.
So what time did they work?
4 o'clock, 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock.
From 8 to
8
4?
about 4, with a half-hour lunch.
Yeah.
And they never, in all their careers with me, I never phoned them after hours, not once. Because I wanted them to be balanced people. That's why they stayed with me. Because if you run your employees to death, you overwork them, and you annoy their families, they begin to hate you, and their husbands hate you, and everyone hates you, then you're going to be a rich failure. So if you treat them with respect, and treat their families with respect, And respect is giving them time to be mothers and wives.
Right.
That's the best gift you can give them. So I said, and then I also didn't go for perfection. If you go for perfection, you'll have a stroke. No one can get perfection.
What do you mean by perfection? Because I think there's somewhere that there's some perfectionist in me, where I could be pedantic about something. But what do you mean by perfection? Like if someone got the number wrong, it's...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, then you go over the top and you start screaming and shouting at people because they're not perfect. There's nobody perfect. So I met a German chap once who had a stroke. He was paralysed all down the side.
Yeah.
And he said to me, I was a German engineer and I tried to get perfection in South Africa. And I had a stroke. My advice to you is, if you get 90% right,
that's good enough.
Then fix the 10% without screaming and shouting. And that's what I learned. If you get 90% right, because we do things wrong in the whole office with all this action.
Yes.
Don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Calm, accept it, fix it. Don't shout, don't scream,
Okay.
don't insult people, don't demean them. People make mistakes. Move on.
Yes.
So when we used to have a lapses used to traumatize me. Used to be when people lapsed a policy after 10 years, I could go into depression for days.
Oh, why?
And then because you lose the relationship and you feel cheated and it's all that stuff.
Okay.
One of my MDRT meetings I went to, and we had a round the table discussion.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what we should do? Limit ourselves to 15% of depression. 15 minutes. So I used to tell my team, okay, this is what happened. When bad things happen to me, give me 15 minutes of depression, they make another appointment immediately. I'm going to go and see somebody immediately. Somebody positive. So I was not allowed to destroy my day or my week because of one bad thing happening.
Right.
And this what happened to MDRT meetings in America, Canada, meeting with people, top of the table, just other agents like us. Then you learn to talk, understand, and make good decisions for the business. And that's how my employees stayed with me for all that length of time. So yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Let me. So you picture. So we in the early days we sold products, and it was affordability.
Right.
And 3 options, and they always took one option. 100%.
Okay.
Nobody ever said no to one little 10 rand a month increase. But the 10 rand a month increase, that relationship would last for 30 years.
Okay.
If I got them as clients, I would give them so much service and so much enthusiasm and so much commitment. They were with me forever. Forever. And when there was a funeral, Kevin, when somebody died, I walked right to the front of the church. I sat behind the widow or the widower, right behind them, with my hand on the shoulder. I was there for them. I never sat at the back of the church or the middle. I sat in the front because I knew when all the dust settles, when all the tea and cake's been eaten, when all the cards been put away, there's one person who's going to change their life, me. What I've sold them, the plan that husband or wife believed in, and I'm going to come and make sure everything goes fine. I'm going to pay for their children's education with the life insurance I've sold them. It's all going to come true because of me. And I feel so important. I'm right there behind the family, and I've done that all my life. There's a funeral, behind the widow, behind the widower. I'm right in the front row with the family. I'm there.
So you always sit there?
Always there. Because I feel I am part of this family, because I'm going to look after them. Because I've sold the product. They bought it. Now I'm going to provide it. But I'm not going to sit in the back. I'm going to sit in the front.
Okay.
And everybody else watches me as well. Who's he? He's right in the front. And I feel it. I mean it. You've got to be. And if you've done a bad job, yeah, you can feel bad then. If you've done a good job, you feel good. Because you're the person who's going to provide money and a trust, an income or a capital that's going to make everything fine. So that's my concept. So let's go yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So a normal day of my life, from coming back from MDRT in 81, 82, 83, I got into, then we eventually took 1,000 clients from the Green Finance Cabinet. We eventually, I think, took 5 years.
So you converted 1,000 orphan clients into your clients?
Yes. From one Green Finance Cabinet.
Just a cabinet?
It's a Green Finance Cabinet, a 4-drawer cabinet, stuffed full of little white cards that people had sold insurance to and then left.
Yes.
And all these people were left behind.
Right.
And nobody worried about them. Nobody bothered. They said, no, we would just look but there were people paying premiums.
Yes, yes.
There were people who had been made a promise to.
Yeah.
There were people who believed in Legal in General.
Yeah.
So that by paying a premium, you believe in the company, Liberty, Discovery, but you believe in that company. I was representing that company.
Right.
Therefore, they deserve service. And I was the one that was going to give it to them. I'm the one that will give the service that you were promised. And he let you down or left, but I'm here. I'm the one. I'm the reserve. So we took 1,000 people out of that. Right. So now we had to have a whole team of people looking after the 1,000.
So how do you do that?
Yeah, that was difficult. But now, Legal in General at that time allowed an agent one office. One office. So within 1 year, I said I want 2 offices. They said no, agents only get 1 office. So I drove to Sour Street, Legal in General head office in Sour Street, talked to the national sales manager, and I said, here I am. Now, I'm Derek Dingwall. You see how many policies I've sold in the last couple of years or year? Yeah. Says, so you give these agents an office. Some of them sell 1 policy a week, but you still got a whole office. I'm doing 2 or 3 a day. So what I want from Legal in General is I want every time I get to a level that you would give an office to, I want another office. So every time I get to 40,000 or something, I want another office. So is that fair? Do you want a lot of people doing nothing with an office, or you want me doing everything, and all I want is another office for my team? So he said, makes sense. So eventually he gave me a suite of offices.
Suite?
Above the 3rd floor. Yeah. But it makes sense. You want me, and I'm producing 2 or 3 clients a day.
Yes, like 10 times the production.
But you're giving somebody who does 1 policy an office, a whole office. So all I want is just be fair.
Okay.
And it was fair. And he said, okay, it makes sense. So my day started at 8 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock, I met my yesterday lady. Now, for 20 odd years, the last 20 odd years, it was Dominique.
Okay.
So Dominique handled everything that happened yesterday. So the sales I made the day before I gave to her, alterations, new sales, conversions.
She will take care of that.
New business. But she had to report back to me every day on what's happened with everything I've given her for as far back as there's something outstanding.
Okay.
Which could be 2 or 3 months.
Okay, so it could be something that's just ongoing and haven't completed yet, and then she would...
a health loading, there's a medical waiting.
Right.
I need to do every morning exactly where my business was.
Okay.
The business was, if there's a medical needed and there's a problem, I'll fix it.
Right.
A health loading, I'll fix it. Whatever it is, but she must tell me, she had to, every day, she had to tell me what was outstanding, all my yesterdays. So nothing was allowed to just disappear in the past.
Right.
So, and then I gave her the new business to continue until the next morning. That took about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. That was my yesterdays. My today was Jeanette. So she was my today lady for 40 years. She was my PA. She handled paying salaries, salary increases, rents, computer, when the computers came in, when telephones came in, when fax machines came in. We were up front with all the new computers, all the new basic computers. We did everything.
Right.
As it came, we bought it. Word processors. Before computers, we bought the biggest one.
Okay.
The first word processor we bought, the salesman wouldn't buy it to me because they said you're too small. A big word processor, CPT. I think it was 10,000 rand. You could buy a Mercedes for 10,000 rand in those days. And I said, I think I want that because that's going to do what I want. It's going to produce sales for me.
Yeah.
I envisioned selling mail shots out for all sorts of things, and this machine would do it. So the salesman says, yeah, but you're too small, you see. That's for a big company. I said, yeah, but I want it. I said, yeah, but... I said, so you're not going to sell it to me because I'm too small. So do I have to join your business as a salesman and sell myself it? I said, whatever. And he, really, it was ridiculous. So then I went, he eventually agreed to sell it to me, but he says, it really is too big for you. I mean, how stupid can you get? I mean, really, I want it. But he was, anyway, I bought it. Kevin, we sent mail shots out to clients. First time ever, mass mail shots. Actually, through the post, when there was a postal service.
Yes.
And we paid for that machine within 5 months. It was paid. That 10,000 rand machine was paid.
Okay.
Because we sent mail shots out for loss of income, insurance, and people bought
So at that time, so you would actually use that processor and just print out from all these.
Let me tell you my best.
And was it to your existing clients or was it like a new?
Only existing clients. No,
only existing clients.
I only dealt with legal and general clients.
Yeah, okay.
Nobody else.
So you just is only your clients or like maybe legal and general?
No.
Other brokers, clients.
No.
Yeah.
Legal and general, green filing cabinet. My focus was in that. The orphans that came out of there.
Right.
I wasn't interested in anybody else.
Okay.
You had to be an existing legal and general client, and you're not.
No one looking
after you. I wasn't interested in anybody else. If anyone came to me, it's fine, but I wasn't. My vision was there.
Okay, you just focus on it.
So let me tell you one of my best mail shots.
Yeah.
So we wanted to sell. Now in those days, 10-year endowments were actually achieving more than the cost of a bond. The interest rates in bond.
Okay.
The endowment policy was higher than the bond, the money you were paying on a bond.
Okay.
So I was thinking, how do we promote this? Then in the Sunday paper it said, bonds have become a headache. So I thought, what do you take for a headache? Disprin. So Monday morning I said to Jeanette, go down and buy me 500 Disprins.
500 Disprins?
Disprin. Go to the chemist and get 500 Disprins.
Yeah?
So we cut them into bits, you see.
Okay.
So then I get a mail shot on my fancy word processor. Bonds have become a headache. This is for your headache. And then we stuck the Disprin to the paper. We stuck it to it.
With a like sellotape or something like that?
No, but with Bostik. Stuck it on it.
Okay.
Then I said, this is for your bond. So bonds have become a headache. This is for your headache, the Disprin. But the endowment policy is going to pay your bond off in 5 or 10 years' time by taking an endowment policy out. In those days, believe it or not, the endowment was achieving a higher rate of interest than the bond you were paying, really.
Okay.
So we sent these 500 mail shots out with the Disprin stuck to it.
Yeah.
And people started responding to the Disprin. Because normally you take a piece of paper and throw it away, but now we've got a Disprin. You read it twice and 3 times.
Yeah.
Let's phone Derek and see what this Disprin policy is all about. There's sort of 100 Disprin policies. And even when they mature 10 years later, they're maturing their Disprin policy.
Wow, that's innovation.
I mean, can you believe it?
Yeah.
So we did lots of things like that, Kevin. We had fun. We had a lot of fun. And that's why that word processor paid for itself very quickly. So we did a lot of mail shots like that.
Okay.
We photostarted a dollar bill once for offshore investments. And we took the photostat and put it on the mail shop. We did a lot of fun things.
Yeah.
And it paid for itself. And all of a sudden we were working. So my today lady, Jeanette. So Jeanette and I, we planned everything together. Every person, that person's package, the employee's package. We designed an annual review letter. The annual review letter that we sent to every single person who had a policy with us. We designed it together. So we had a column for life cover. So if you have life cover, we put life cover in. Disability, no disability. Critical illness cover, nothing. Retirement, nothing there. Savings, nothing.
Yeah.
So we sent it to you, Kevin. What you got was what you got. But what you've also got is what you haven't got. What you haven't got are future sales. You know how dynamite that was. Yeah. So we sent so we had one lady, a tomorrow lady. Yeah. She sent every single client an annual review letter with what they've got, but it showed them what they haven't got. Then added the recommendation on the second page. Kevin, I realised we met a year ago or two ago, you want life cover for a particular reason, but you really need to add disability cover onto this, or critical illness cover onto this.
Right.
You get a phone call from Lynn to say, Kevin, did you get the Derek's recommendation letter? You want to speak to him. Can we make an appointment?
Yeah.
We made an appointment, the cycle began. Then Jeanette would do the presentations, make the sale, give it to Dominique. That's how we're in that business for the 40 years.
Yeah.
So my today lady was Jeanette. We did creative things together with our different things to do for clients and our team and the office environment we want, so everything. And then she gave me my sales presentations for the day. She did beautiful presentations. And she passed.
At that time, what kind of was she using a processor to do the?
She was becoming more sophisticated. Jeanette was highly intelligent.
Okay.
And she passed all of her exams that were thrown at us. Every exam we took it together.
Yeah.
So she was in financial planner status when she retired, but she was not allowed to sell. But she passed every exam there was to pass. She was fabulous. So she did everything, and she did my tax as well. So she did people's wills, complicated wills, everything today.
Yeah.
And then so she gave me my presentations, and that was me. Then she would go and work. Then my two tomorrow ladies came in. So I've done yesterday, Dominique. Today's Jeanette.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, my two tomorrows.
And
That's my
tomorrow
annual
at what
review.
time? 9 o'clock.
They would come at 9:15, 9:30.
Okay.
Depending on how much I did with Jeanette.
Yes.
The Jeanette work was very important because it was all creative stuff. My tomorrow ladies brought in about 50 of my reviews. So they showed me the review that they've prepared for me. There's Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin's only got one life policy. What do you want to tell him? I would remember Kevin. I would know Kevin. I would think about your environment.
Yeah.
I haven't met your wife yet. Maybe she needs life cover, critical illness cover. You've got young family education policies. So I was able just to tell them what I thought, to put in the recommendation, and they would send it off.
Yeah.
When you agreed to see me, then Jeanette would do a more professional presentation for you. But the big thing was that I had two tomorrow ladies. One would send the reviews out, the other one would phone up and follow up. Kevin, did you receive it? Are you interested in seeing? So one sent the reviews out, another one phoned to follow up to see if you wanted my recommendation.
So I want to understand, when you had that system back in the 80s, you already have 4 people?
Yeah.
And
Five.
Okay,
Five.
and then those two more ladies, so if I can just try to visualize that, one is like presumably is like sending out the mail shot, right, to the client, and the other one is afterwards maybe a day or two later, or then call the clients and say that did you receive it in the post? Is that how it works?
That's right. Yeah. Now Lynn was with me for 30 years.
So Lynn is the tomorrow lady.
Lynn's tomorrow. She was a brilliant tomorrow lady.
Yeah.
She knew all the clients. She also did arrears premiums. So
yes, arrears premiums.
So people who got into arrears, Lynn would talk to them. Say, Kevin, you missed your premium.
Yeah.
You can't lose this cover. What's gone wrong? She would talk to you. She would make a plan with Legal in General or LNGV, whatever company my name. The company changed from Legal in General to LNGV to Life Growth to Momentum. It changed 4 times.
So eventually it's into the Momentum fold.
Yeah, the fold. Yeah.
Okay.
But we just kept going. But they kept changing the name, and I just kept going.
Yeah.
We just kept working. The same system every day.
So at what time do you actually have 6 people?
We had 6 people around about mid-80s. Okay. So I brought an apprentice in as well.
Yeah. And so when you had the 6 people, how was the resources allocated? Was it you have 1 yesterday, 1 today, and 2 tomorrow, and what do the other 2 do?
No, so my today lady was Jeanette.
Yes.
My yesterday lady was Dominique.
Yes.
My 2 tomorrow ladies were Lynn and Jane eventually.
Okay.
And 1 receptionist.
Oh, you have 1 receptionist.
Yeah.
So 1 receptionist is actually taking calls and.
Yeah, we had proper offices. Yeah, we had proper.
Okay.
There's the offices there. That was my office.
Wow. Okay.
And that was my brochure with my whole team.
So where's your office?
The offices was where?
Yeah.
In Bartlett Lake Office Park, a beautiful office park in Boxburg.
Okay.
Beautiful, next to a lake.
So that was so you actually had your own like a office space and all that.
Proper.
And was it rented or was it okay?
Rented.
Yeah. And so you have 1 receptionist and then the other 4 people. Okay. And then what does the receptionist do?
She welcomed them in. She welcomed the people in.
Yeah.
Lovely smile.
Yes.
Welcomed them in.
Yeah.
Showed them into we had a meeting room.
Yes.
Really a beautiful meeting room with all my MDRT plaques up in there.
Okay.
Very tastefully done.
Yeah.
No files, no clutter. Just a beautiful meeting room.
Okay.
Where I could meet clients.
Right.
And we overlooked a stretch of water. There was water in front of it as well, with birds and ducks and things. And oh yeah, it was beautiful.
Okay.
And there was that was a private place where I could talk to my clients.
Yes.
Nobody was bothering me. Phones ringing.
Yeah.
It was perfectly. It was just you and me for 1 hour. No interruptions. Just professional.
That's brilliant.
And Sarah looked after you. Sarah brought you tea or coffee, and she looked after you. She did a bit of filing. Sarah is still working for the company who bought me out in 2021. Yeah, she's still there. Sarah's fabulous here. So that was the team. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's yesterday, today, and I was a today man. I was the so when I was gone, that was me gone. That was, and then the team just looked after everything until the next morning.
Yeah.
Then I went to visit people, and that's my passion was visiting people every day.
Right. So tomorrow, team, you're really talking about the two of them. They bring you those 50 clients for review, and they tell you about the client, and you're giving the client recommendation and then they will do that work and they send out to the client. But then if the client interested, you will still have a meeting with
Jeanette.
Okay.
So that would be the next day. I would tell Jeanette, we have an appointment with this person. This is what the presentation I need you to do for them.
Okay, so the tomorrow lady will tell you this client is interested.
That's right.
Then does she tell Jeanette, or do you tell Jeanette?
The next day at that meeting, about today's meeting.
Right.
I tell Jeanette the appointments we've got for the following week. Then she had time to do the presentation.
So the tomorrow lady, do they actually make appointments for you?
Yes, yeah.
So they actually send out and call the client and make appointment for the future. That's what you told about the future. Okay, so anything about the appointments for from tomorrow onwards, for the maybe next week, next tomorrow 2 weeks, and they actually do that. And do you how in advance do you actually allow them to book? Say, for example, a client of you travel overseas, maybe will be back in 2 months' time. Then do they then make a booking in 2 months' time? So they will do that. Okay, and at that time, do they actually use the diary? Because pre-computer era, then you probably have a diary in front of you, or they have and then say, okay, I'll put you in here and then check time.
Before computers, we did everything by hand. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we go into the new world, and we did everything.
So when do you actually have the computer introduced into your practice?
Kevin. It was the 80s. We were at the beginning of word processors, computers. So 80s, 90s.
So at that time, you already started with that.
The very beginning.
Yes.
There's an article in one of the local magazines where I was the first to bring a little handheld computer into an office.
Yeah.
There's an actual article in the local paper.
Oh.
An old mutual chap and myself, we bought the first.
Yeah.
It was a type of computer. It was nothing like we've got now. I mean.
Yeah.
So we were ahead all the time. We were buying, learning all the time, just learning, building, growing all the time.
Okay. Yeah. And now I just want to contrast to, prior to the computer era, you had this team and transition to the computer era. And even if you look at the last few years, where the technology has grown leaps and bounds, and with the software and all that, and everything is moving to the cloud, and that. What has changed? Would you say the fundamental has not changed? The team setup structure is still the same. Maybe does the computer enable you or the team to do more, or actually you find the technology is actually a nuisance?
Well, I was never involved with the technology because, my team were involved with the technology, the backup, the support.
Right.
They made sure that everything was backed up.
Yes.
Everything was done properly.
Yeah.
I was today, man. I was a person who went to visit clients every day. These relationships were important.
So when you go, even if I think about like back as maybe 2-3 years ago, 2019, 2020, prior to COVID and that. When you went to see clients, did you not carry your laptop or anything, and were you just having a discussion with a client, and that's what you did?
Up until then, we were still paper-based. Momentum insisted everything was still done on paper.
Okay.
So they still wanted actual forms signed.
Right.
I worked until March 2020.
Yes.
Up until that time, Momentum still insisted on actual paper.
So you will go to the client, or the client comes to your office, and everything's printed out nicely, the quotation and the application form and everything signed, and the client's like with the ID and that will you make a copy, or your assistant make a copy and all that. Okay.
Scanned to Momentum.
Right.
They were paperless.
Yes.
They were paperless.
Yes.
But we were not allowed to be paperless in 2019, 2020.
Right.
They still wanted paper from us.
Yes.
They still insisted that I sit in front of you and have a signature.
Okay.
It all changed after that. I retired in the 1st of March 2020.
Right. Okay.
But up to that time, it was still they still insisted that we do paper, which was ridiculous. But that's the way they wanted it.
Okay.
But we bought paper, we printed it, we scanned it, then we shredded it. What a waste of money.
Okay.
What a waste of money. It was a waste of money. Then it was the way it was.
Okay. So Derek, just going back to your system of yesterday, today, tomorrow. Now I have a good understanding of how the system you set up and ran. So would you say a financial advisor, even in today's environment, this is still relevant? You still can work very well?
You see, I have no idea. I've been out of it since March 2020. I have no idea how the fees work, the commission works.
Yeah.
I was basically, we built that business on upfront commission. We built it on. We could never have built that business if we had as and when.
Yeah.
I could never have afforded one salary.
Right.
So we built it on a system that was upfront commission, and even when it was 50%, it was still worth it. We still got renewals.
Right.
So it's not the perfect situation, but it was the system then. But everyone got their money's worth. But the end of it, the problem was you have a commission at risk liability to the company.
Right.
That's what you end up. So it's not the perfect situation. But looking at it, there was no other way I could have built that business without upfront commission.
Right.
So I have no idea how to answer that question.
Okay.
Because I've never Zoomed anybody or what's your other ways of doing it? Teams. I've never done Teams or anything like that.
Right.
So I've never been a part of that. But I'll tell you one thing. If I had to do it, I would have done it. If I had to do it, I would have built myself a studio type place with cameras and screens. I would have done it. And I would have done it with enthusiasm. I would have done it. If I had to change it, I would have changed it. We changed many times over 40 years, believe me.
Right.
We moved as life changed, as regulation changed, as the
so
demand for education. They wanted a matric certificate at one stage. Now in Scotland, we didn't have a matric certificate.
Okay.
But they wanted a matric certificate. So I think I was 50. And they had a special financial matric for us. And we met in a place in Benoni, and there was bank managers and bank brokers. And we were going, you haven't got a matric, you haven't got a matric. And we had to write this financial matric to get the certificate for us. But I did it with enthusiasm. So we've done everything we've been asked to do. With honesty, trust and service. But the MDRT principles have always been very strong in my mind. And the MDRT meetings have given me a great balance. And I wanted an international business in Benoni. That's what I wanted. International levels of service.
I think that going back to your system about yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Okay, so if I just run you through, if I were you as a financial advisor, today's financial advisor, if I have this kind of the system, then obviously if a broker or advisor that started out, well, maybe started as a one-man person, okay, but then as the business grows, then I hire assistant and then 2 or 3 and that. So in terms of booking appointments, then actually that would be the tomorrow lady, tomorrow team that does it, okay. Then once I gone to see, and then for today's meeting that I'm going to see, then I'm going to today's lady that's going to provide me all the information, the presentation, or the maybe the application form and the quotation that I need to give to the client, and every client will have a folder so that when I arrive at the client, or maybe the client comes to office, okay, Mr. John, this is what we're going to talk about today. This is the life insurance quote, etc. Okay. Then once I've concluded the meeting, do you actually then go to your yesterday lady and say, hey, this is my file, just deal with it? Or you wait until next day morning to do that? Because like in my practice, my habit or my way I do it is like I like to, while it's still fresh, I pass on to my assistant to say, okay, this is what I discussed with the client. I'll make a meeting notes, and then you can deal with it. But do you actually refrain from that, and you actually wait? Maybe today you have like 4 or 5 meetings, and then you have made notes, and you have all the application forms and that, and then you only wait until the next day, next day morning to have a discussion with the yesterday lady. Yeah,
because today is my day to sell.
Right.
I'm not going to interrupt that day by handing forms in that day. You must have structure. The structure is the next morning I'll hand in. If you upset the structure, everyone's confused.
Right.
You just confuse everybody.
So
and you're all over the place.
So the way you structure your time and also your engagement, you're quite structured in that sense. So you're not, because that's maybe just personally, like that's where I found myself maybe interrupting my team's work, because like I just call them and say, hey, this client want that and that. But it's actually maybe too many disruption in their work.
Yeah, you're not focused. You must be focused.
Yes.
On you must be focused, and your assistant must be focused as well.
Right.
And there must be structure and discipline.
Okay. Okay.
And if you're disciplined, you will do well. If you're not disciplined, you're all over the place.
Yes.
You don't know if it's yesterday, today, or tomorrow. You get all mixed up.
Okay.
So I separated my life completely.
Yes.
And it worked well for me because I'm able to structure.
Yeah.
So in my today world, I want to see as many people as possible.
Right.
To see them physically.
Yeah.
And if I interrupt the day by handing forms in, I've ruined the whole structure.
Right. Right.
So I think if you're going to be successful in sales, you must allocate time to sell and to think about selling.
Okay.
And to think about how many people you need to service and how many people you need to keep the promise to.
Yeah.
The promise you made to them.
Sorry, I see my phone is. It's just the battery is low on the low side.
You want to charge
Just
it?
want to make sure it's charged. Yeah.
You want to charge it in the mains, or is it?
I think this should do the trick. But the only thing is, okay, that's fine. Okay, does it work? Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So what's in terms of the structure, and that I think that's quite important. Like to be everyone knows, and so they can work on the best. But from time to time there will be clients calling in, or in today's world, the client no longer just call. They maybe WhatsApp you, maybe like using like instant messaging. Maybe there's email coming in.
Yeah.
Who handles those? Like a client queries. Maybe they say, oh, I missed premium, or I found this amount deducted from my bank account, but why is more than last month? Who handled these queries?
Well, my support team did. I never did it. My support team handled all that.
So your support team, is that your tomorrow lady, or is yesterday lady? Who does handle all these?
Whoever was in the office at the time when the phone call was made, when the phone done, then whoever answered, Sarah would answer the phone, and she would put you through to Lynn or Dominic, whoever was there.
Right.
They have flexibility.
Okay.
They have total flexibility.
So all of them, they are actually quite equipped to handle any of such queries.
If anyone's out, the other one will handle anything.
Okay.
Dominic, Lynn, they were a great team. They could handle any phone call they could take. They would handle it with pleasure. They would do it.
Okay.
And then hand over to if the lady wasn't in, she would give up when she came back again.
Okay.
But whatever query you had, one of my team would answer that problem.
I see. So a person answer the problem, but they say, for example, if it's a claim, like unfortunately someone passed away.
Dominic.
Then both Dominic.
Dominic would do the death claims. Yeah.
Is that your today lady?
Yeah. Yesterday.
Oh, yesterday lady.
Yeah.
She's the one that handles.
She also did death claims. Yeah.
So she handles claims. Anything to do with claims, she would handle.
She would handle that. Yeah.
And if it's a real premium, then it's tomorrow. Your tomorrow lady. So in terms of those things, then they spread out.
It all just happened as it all just took place as people showed me their strengths.
Right.
Dominic was great at doing claims, death claims, handling the people in stress. She was great at that.
Okay.
So everyone just slotted into whatever they could. When somebody phoned, and there were never because I had so many of them.
Right.
No one was under pressure to put them off.
Okay.
If they wanted to talk, they could talk.
Okay. So let's say, for example, this lady speaks to the client, but then she's not necessarily the one handling the claim. Then she will pass on to Dominic. Say, Dominic, we have this client whose husband passed away, and please can you handle that? So that's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They all handled it as the calls came in. Believe me, with 1,000 clients, the phone never stopped ringing.
Yes.
Never stopped.
Okay. Is that where you have your receptionist to handle the call and then transfer to?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, that's where you have that fifth person.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It worked well. We had a big
And
client
who
base.
does the filing? You know, like there's a lot of like
Sarah
documents.
did the filing. Sarah, receptionist. She did the
Reception.
filing. Yeah.
She does the filing.
She did the filing.
Okay.
But then those files, when I sold the business, were scanned and destroyed. We did for 40 years. We had files in a big filing room.
Right.
When I sold the business, those files were scanned and destroyed. They're all scanned now.
Yeah.
So, but that was an era I was in. I was in an era of files.
Yes, yes.
The
I mean that's amazing. You know, for you through your career and have seen the changes in the work environment and has to adapt. Yeah, that's okay.
And what was exciting is we adapted as it came at us, as it all happened. I mean, cell phones, fax machines, all these things came at us.
Yeah, so Derek,
exciting to be alive.
I want to now this is the point I want to get to. You know, like nowadays with the modern technology, you know, with a cell phone, it's a great business tool, but it can also be a huge disruptor because like I check WhatsApp and with Chinese client I check WeChat and there's an email and the clients can phone me and then you know like and I think this day and age. I don't know about your clientele, but my clientele, they seem to be, you know, like if I didn't answer their call, if I, you know, like if they send me a message after like an hour, I haven't responded, they will say, Kevin, are you, you know, like, are you serious about a service and things like that? But then, you know, like during, as like you mentioned, you know, like during the day, when you structure your day, then you have all these meetings. So you're not just on the phone checking all these things. So how do you handle that?
I was never faced with that in my era, in my time.
Okay.
I was never faced with that problem.
All right. So that's
remember, I've been retired for 3 years.
So
a lot has happened in 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I retired completely in 3 years. So March 2020, I retired completely.
So let's say, for example, prior to 2021, when you had a meeting, do you have a cell phone with you, or you just say to your lady Jeanette, say that take my phone, I'm not going to bring.
Right. Yeah, I would never interrupt.
Oh, you bring that's a good.
Never interrupt an appointment for anything.
Okay, so there's no call coming in, and that's interrupting.
No, give it to my team would answer that phone call.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
My team would answer that. I would give my phone to them. No one would interrupt me.
Yeah.
So the time we spent together was not interrupted.
I see.
Yeah. Otherwise. Okay. You lose concentration. You lose focus.
Yeah, even just that split second that could derail your sales.
And then you lose contact with our client. So I think what the clients loved about me going to see them was it was just them and me.
Yes,
there was never interruption.
Yes,
just had a focus on them.
Yeah. And what about compliance? You know, like nowadays there's so much requirement in terms of compliance, record advice and that. So when you go and see the client and then you do the application form and that, do you then also just get the client to explain the ROA and then just the client sign and then so that's all done. It's not having to go back to the client with a record advice.
So Dominic checked all that. When I handed over my yesterday to Dominic, she checked everything.
Yeah.
Anything missing she would do it before she handed it through.
Okay.
So if I missed anything about compliance, Dominic would follow up the next day.
Okay.
Send me your ID. Send me this.
Okay. She followed up with the clients.
That was So
okay.
She would do a lot of that work.
I see.
If they didn't have what they needed the day before, Dominic would make sure she had it the next day. Yeah. And she had the time to do it. That was her job. That's all. Her only job was that.
Yeah.
Everyone's only job was what they had.
Okay, so you make the team very clear in terms of what they need to do.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
And then so there's and how do you handle a situation where maybe someone went on leave or maybe on maternity leave or maybe went on holiday for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and do you have someone else to back that up? Back the person. So
they all backed each other up.
Okay, so they're all familiar with things. So even though when Dominic is on leave, then someone else can step in.
Oh yes, yeah. One of my tomorrow leads would hand in do new business.
Yeah.
They were all interchangeable. Interchangeable. Nobody was individual except me. I was only one who had the unique talent to sell.
Yeah. Could I ask you, by the time you left, what was the kind of annual income that your practice was generating?
Around about 500,000 a month.
Okay, so it's about 6 million. Okay,
Yeah.
and salaries, because like when a lot of advisors are saying, I have to hire 5 people, that's a lot of people salary to pay. How much were you paying in terms of like salaries for staff?
150,000.
Okay.
Between 150, yeah.
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 Okay. Were they all paid the same, or was
No.
Yeah,
Jeanette was the highest paid.
okay. All right.
Then Dominic, they were all with me forever. Remember, if you've had somebody for 40 years, you got 40 years of increases.
Yes.
The longer you keep them, the more expensive they become.
Yeah. And do they earn like a part of a commission, or they just on salary?
No.
So
No
fixed
commission.
salary. So
fixed salaries.
So okay.
No commission, because then it ruins everything. When you put them into commission only, it goes wrong. You want the type of person who's satisfied with an income.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Because right now, what I've heard is that some companies, what they do is like they pay someone a fixed salary plus maybe a percentage of commission, maybe say 0.5% of the fees or commission generated. But you didn't work like that.
No, because it gets too confusing, because you get disappointment. So you want somebody you can employ, I'm talking about an employee.
Yes.
An employee who wants a basic salary every month to feed their family.
Right.
The minute you get smart and give them half
and then
basic.
the other,
So when it doesn't work, they've got problems. Because they can't meet their expenses. They don't want that. The type of person you want is somebody who's satisfied. They'll get a good bonus at the end of the year. They all get good bonuses.
Okay.
Sometimes double checks, 1.5 times at the end of the year. But from a month to month, you want a person who's steady, who needs that income every month to live, and that's what he or she gets. That's the type of person you want. But the minute you start mixing incentives or reduced basics, and that's a different animal altogether. And then you get disappointment, and you're going to run to make that happen.
Right.
So if you don't achieve what you want to achieve, they're disappointed. You don't want a disappointed employee. You want a happy employee. A happy employee is to get the same salary every month, increased every year, and a bonus at the end of the year. They've got stability. That's the type of person who gets a job.
Yeah, and in your practice, did you do any like performance management, performance review every 6 months, or you don't do things like
small
that?
Business. No,
small business.
No,
okay.
Small business. I just run it every day.
Yeah.
If there's a problem, I can pick it up, fix it. No performance reviews.
Okay.
We had to achieve everything, but they weren't at school.
Okay.
This was a business that ran like a machine.
Yes.
Everybody just worked, and they went home at 4 o'clock. All went home at 4 o'clock. Came back 8 o'clock next morning. So they were balanced people. They were balanced. They were happy. But if you start introducing things like that, performance reviews, and you're a small business, you can handle these things.
Okay.
But you need to treat them with respect, treat employees with respect, respect their time, especially their time. People abuse employees' time. They phone them at 7 o'clock at night, or they pass their problem to their employees at 8 o'clock at night. That's not fair. It's not fair.
Sure.
Because you disrupt that person's life. That person won't stay with you. They won't stay, you lose them. But you lose them, you lose all the experience. Respect people's time, especially employees. They must have time with their family and their children. Then everyone's happy with you. But if you start abusing that, no one's happy with you. And then you won't be happy with yourself either.
Derek, it's so good to speak to you and learn from you. I think that you share a lot, and there's valuable lessons. And I wish I can come back some other time and speak to you. But thanks so much, and until next time.
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks to everyone for listening. My best. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you like this episode, and share it with your friends.